Thank you for making these solutions available. Thank you, and let me now invite you to take part in a session that is dedicated to the consequences of the use of the tools that support decision-making in terms of artificial intelligence and big data. So thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to moderate this section. And let me start with Tomasz. Is this a futurist vision, or are we already there? Well, thank you very much. I am a great enthusiast of AI and big data. I could go on for a very long time talking about it. However, we agreed for my presentation to be just the food for thought and something to provoke the further discussion. So it's to be brief by definition. Piotr Mieczkowski has asked me to speak about this topic, and I want to use data from statistical data. So there are large corporations, large companies, and of course they are revenue driven. They are submitting patent applications, and before such an application is to be submitted, investments need to be made over a very long time, and there are so many patents pending on artificial intelligence in the world, which means that it is becoming more and more popular. And let me tell you, what we can see is a tip of an iceberg. So if we see the tip of the iceberg close to our ship, probably we are already touching the iceberg under the water. So, as to very practical, very specific applications and solutions that involve artificial intelligence, I wanted to tell you something that may surprise you. So we have technologies that transfer speech to text. Sometimes we have a problem with searching through audio material. It's very difficult to archive them, register them. If once we have a text, a transcribed speech, there are so many more instruments that have search functions. The European Parliament has launched a tender and has actually already launched a solution to transcribe speech into 24 languages. Polish is one of the first languages. It's part of the first sprint. So we will have a European solution that will transcribe speech to text for Polish. So we have the Newton Dictate. You can see the window there. And medical professionals, radiologists, histopathologists will be able to describe the samples and the images that they see in speech, which will be transcribed, will be turned into text in real time. This text will then be validated based on the language that is specific to this particular sector, be it radiologists or pathomorphologists and so on. And is this a popular solution? In the neighboring countries, in Croatia, for example, in Slovakia, they use the use of Newton Dictate is very popular. And now the question is, to what extent freeing the medical professionals' hands is appreciated in Poland? Is it popular? Because we want to make life easier for the doctors. We do not want them to be too burdened by the red tape. We have also a Sky Engine, a solution by another partner. For example, the HISPAT diagnostic. artificial intelligence is very successful in recognizing certain patterns in images. So it can look at histopathological cross-sections, at samples, at microscopic images. And of course, I want not to be carried away with my enthusiasm, and I have to mention that artificial intelligence is to serve the medical professionals. So it can make certain hints, it can do certain preparatory work. However, students of medical faculties are not very eager to specialize in histopathology. We have the problem of the aging population of histopathologists, so we will have to be assisted by artificial intelligence to a greater extent in the future. And another solution, apologic, which based on the slices from CT scans, this solution can build 3D models, and these 3 models can be viewed using special glasses, and there you can actually use these images and compare them with the patient's body or organs in 3D. In the Western countries, in Germany, Switzerland, in the Czech Republic or the Czechia, such solutions are very popular. We are trying to make our partners interested. It's a pity that these solutions are not so popular in Poland, because these were Polish companies that actually came up with these solutions. There are also solutions which can merge information from genotype with information from phenotype, and then it can support the diagnostic process. Polish specialists established a company in England, and they are very successful in selling their solutions there. We should altogether promote telemedicine solutions in Poland, because this will be the entry point for the system. From that point on, system will be saturated with data that will enable diagnostics. Professor Szczeklik, but also
w czasach, które nadchodzą z wykorzystaniem sztucznej inteligencji. Bardzo dziękuję.
already know from the ancient times that the correct diagnosis is the very basis of successful treatment. So we have to be able to help everyone, even those patients which are quite remote. And now our next speaker, representing Polpharma. Could you tell us more about at which point we are when it comes to development and the use of artificial intelligence?
Jest fantastycznie.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to see you again. But like our previous speakers have said, it's a pity that we can't meet each other in person. I hope that next year we will come together in Sopot. But once again, thank you very much, Artur, for inviting Polpharma to collaborate. We've been working together for several years, and hopefully we can continue our cooperation to build the right healthcare ecosystem in Poland. It makes me even more glad, to quote Netflix, to start another season of our discussions on AI in healthcare, because it's very important. I think in many discussions yesterday, today, and any other day, we see. I do apologize. Can I change slides on my presentation? Okay, and use arrows. Okay, I can't do it. I'm sorry. Oh, it works. Okay, benefits offered by application of AI in healthcare are quite obvious for most of us. And we tend to discuss very specific solutions or applications recently showcased by Tomek. Those applications are becoming more clear, not only to tech-savvy people, and luckily they are making a foray into surgeries of specialists, medical specialists, and they are applied on a much wider scale. But we need to keep in mind that AI is opening up brand new possibilities for patient engagement. In treatment itself, we can engage the patient in monitoring his or her health status, application or compliance with therapeutic instructions and recommendations in healthcare. What is particularly important today is access to healthcare, reduced waiting time for medical services, as well as prospects for customizing services to have them fine-tuned to individual customers or patients. So it makes me wonder if artificial intelligence is actually the area out of so many technological solutions that will keep on developing. I wanted to show you today a graph which illustrates or projects development of the US market, but I think it's very telling, and it shows current trends. Application of AI in healthcare will be growing. I mean, it is expected to grow exponentially. And this process will accelerate in the next several years. So it's very important for everyone. It's not only to comprehend what are the benefits, what are the capabilities of this technology. We need to understand what are the roadblocks, what are the constraints that may slow down or accelerate implementations or hinder adoption of specific solutions. I would like to mention several major factors, but it's a whole list of barriers that I've listed. Well, for a long time, AI is discussed in the context of ethical questions, and in healthcare in particular, we are wondering who is going to take the liability for possible mistakes in decisions taken by AI. I wanted to reflect on what you've said before. From my perspective, artificial intelligence will assist, will only aid diagnostics and proper therapy. It is not meant to replace a medical professional. It is meant to assist him or her in areas where it's capable of doing it, to take the burden, to take the strain off the physician. Additional factors or other roadblocks that we see include patients, because there is a lot of anxiety on the part of patient related to application of AI. Because very often we hear, and I'm very happy because we've heard just a minute ago about implementation of cloud-based solutions in a Polish hospital. And there was also anxiety that migration of activities to the cloud may bring on some unspecified threats. So this is another element we need to factor in. But I would like to stress today is that AI is useless without adequate large data sets. Only when we have data in place, only when we have data which is available, tried and tested from the perspective of, for example, objectiveness, because obviously if data refer to selected patient groups, AI will be only able to assess only this given patient group. It has to learn beforehand how the overall patient population looks like. So this is vital. People who will be designing relationship with data must be aware of it. Equally important are elements related to the confidentiality of health data, to safety of health data, and sometimes very restrictive regulations on their disclosure, because, of course, personal data related to specific patients must be safe, but anonymized data may be disclosed and used by different AI-based solutions that can be applied in many different areas. So this is another piece of the jigsaw we have to factor in. And again, there are no regulations in place. There are no procedures that would define that a given AI-based model is not a black box, and no one knows what's happening inside it. But there are clearly identified and validated procedures which are deemed safe. The last item, although this item may come first, especially in the context of the Polish healthcare, interoperability, integration. For many years, teamed up with Artur, we've been very vocal about the need to create healthcare architecture that ensures simple interactions between different stakeholders. And last but not least, I would like to say that it's very important to get involved on very different levels, in very different institutions, to promote and discuss it. I think Piotr will confirm that within Digital Poland Foundation, we have put together a manifesto relevant to many different areas, including health. And in healthcare, we have focused on key components, and we suggest and we recommend to the government, to public institutions, to focus on them and work together on them. And these are components that will help us address these roadblocks I have just mentioned: interoperability or business architecture, awareness and educating the wide public that cloud-based solutions may be safe if they are adequately managed, that you can safeguard data, etc. So we need to demonstrate that AI may be used on a wide scale in prevention, in preventive measures, not only in medical imaging and other state-of-the-art technologies, but in simple solutions that help patients lead a healthy lifestyle. What is vital for patients suffering of chronic diseases, or remote access to medical services, remote monitoring of vital patient parameters. And something Artur said at the beginning, digital therapeutics. And one more thing, we need resources to go ahead with those activities, and we need to think how public funding available may be redistributed in such way to make sure that digital solutions for healthcare, which are AI-driven, may be further developed. That's everything from me now, and over to Piotr. Thank you for your very concise introduction which pinpointed priorities and roadblocks. Very quickly, we will have a brief discussion which may be continued until 2 p.m. On promotion of AI. And because we have Bartosz Poliński of Alivia Foundation. Hello, Bartosz. Hello. Who will tell us more about availability of data. We have Marek Trojanowicz, the co-founder of BrainScan. Hello. We have Deputy Director Jan Filip Staniłko, Deputy Director of the Department for Innovation of the new Ministry of Development, Labour and Technology, and Tomek Jaworski, who has just delivered presentation on promotion. So together with Tomek Staszelis, we'll be moderating this brief discussion. But before we start, I want to ask Bartosz or Marek a question about roadblocks, about barriers, because I know that you have a startup. You want to promote reviewing or interpretation of medical imaging, so you want to assist medical professionals, and you probably know a lot about problems that may be encountered. And Bartosz, you have lots of experience with data. Would you like to supplement the presentation? Perhaps you can pinpoint what may be the issue, perhaps cloud, perhaps something else. Okay, I'm glad to comment because I'm an enthusiast of AI-based solutions myself, and I deeply believe that in the future, those solutions will enable us to achieve what patients want most. Better, more effective therapy. I focus on cancer, and Poland is at the end of the league table in Europe. We need to catch up. There is lots of room for improvement, and medicine and all medical procedures may become more comfortable for patients. They may be more satisfied with them. And I think this is important. But it's not going to be easy. Looking at different businesses engaged in it, which is great by itself, I think they're facing a daunting task because our system has been built in a way which doesn't put the patient first. So in other words, a solution may be beneficial for the patients, but for very different reasons, it may be hardly adaptable. And root causes vary. Some of them are tied to the medical community itself, which may have a different mindset that makes them reluctant to these solutions. And another root cause ties back to what we have in mind is the patient's mindset. Patients may not have confidence in those solutions, so we need to have a very good insight into prejudices of both sides, technological prejudices, to transform the Polish healthcare system in such a way to make sure that the system promotes solutions generating value added. For example, if a solution is able to identify a brain tumor faster than a medical professional, or perform a CT scan faster than our MR scan faster than our healthcare. So these are advantages that may help us change the mindset. Marek, can you comment from startup perspective, perhaps cloud? is the biggest issue. Perhaps hospitals are not open to cloud-based solutions. Well, it seems to me that, we're a bit too old to be a startup. We are a young company which is up and running. To be honest, I have no problems at all. We have managed to build a database of more than 200,000 MR scans. We focus on brain, but horizontally. We want to diagnose 26 pathological lesions in the brain, but like I've said, in our database we have 200,000 test results. We have collated them from 80,000 medical establishments. We've asked legal departments to make contracts with us. We had no problems with acquisition of data, and we have an Indian competitor which is comparable, and there are several companies like that. So we have a comparable database in terms of identification of lesions, of changes. In 2019, in December, at RSNA in Chicago, we were awarded the golden medal. Sorry to interrupt you. If it's so great, why is it so bad? I understand why is it bad. I don't agree with your diagnosis that it's bad. We have a pilot implementation at 2 big hospitals in Poland. No one's got an issue to make it a cloud-based solutions. All radiologists. Well, it's hard to say they are our clients because, these are decision makers or heads of hospitals who are, in fact, our customers. But, decision making is not an issue. Cloud is not an issue. What's the problem? You need to anonymize data and send them to the cloud. So I completely disagree so far with the statement that things are not going well. I've talked to Siemens, and they also claimed that overall there is an issue in Europe because we have fictional GDPR. I mean, no one is really following it and complying with it. What's happening in Asia, that's a completely different story. And also in the US. Okay, there is a topic. I know legal issues are a topic for a never-ending discussion. But if you look at data processed by Amazon or Facebook, as you know, there is Amazon Echo. For example, to ask Alexa, okay, Alexa, please tell me when is my flight from Warsaw to the States. And there were discussions whether this device is eavesdropping or not. And 3 days later, when I've discussed it with Łukasz from Iversoft, there was a worldwide scandal that, sounds from all private apartments are stored by, recordings are stored by Amazon. So, this is what is happening, and it's no secret that Philips, Siemens, and all electronics equipment have no own data. And meanwhile, we in Europe are thinking, can we have access to data or not?
Jeszcze do pana, bo w kontekście mamy pytanie
Well, before we move on, I have a question to you, a question that has been asked during this session. Are these public hospitals or are these private hospitals? Where are your solutions tested? Well, one of the hospital network is a network of public hospitals, and then there is another large private company. So both. Director, then you have a different perspective on this. You are looking at this from the point of view of a hospital. Alex said there are no problems. But the other people say that there are problems. I mean, in the Czech Republic, in the United States, in other countries, these solutions are more popular than in Poland. So what is the obstacle? You did get involved a year ago in a discussion on artificial intelligence at the ministerial level, and you also worked on the AI strategy for our country. Well, I think that the problems or the differences that we see are differences over samples. Marek is working with a small sample of partners, and some other people are looking at a larger sample. And then we speak about absorption of different solutions in public administration, the public sector. Well, these things are decentralized to a large extent. So hence the problem, the architectural problem that has been mentioned, because if we do not have a central architect in a city, for example, that is a complex entity, when we try to make the city digital, we find it difficult. And this is why also with the health service, which is very dispersed, very fragmented, we always come up with this problem. Who finally takes a decision about something being created and then implemented? In countries where digitalization process is more dynamic, and I'm speaking about Europe. Let's leave the United States aside, because there we have this very high level of digital enthusiasm in business. The US is leading in this respect. And the system is totally different. Insurers are looking for the most modern, most innovative ways to reduce costs. So United States would be very different. For example, Polish company Medical Algorithmics is offering most of its services in the United States. And why is that? Well, it is because in Poland, many operations are still carried out manually by cardiologists. It is a big business, and it is quite a competition between two ways of resolving the same problem, and then it translates into funding. So if I were to look for a lever, I would say that digitalization works in Europe. In those countries, we have a central architect. In the UK, we have the digital service, and the NHS is also in the avant-garde of digital projects. And there is a pressure from these onto the system to change the way medical services are structured. So if we have a central architect who has some foresight, and so public sector personalized, let's say, is able to pressure the system, different entities that are maybe not flush with money, to attempt to introduce the new solutions. In Poland, we also have the problem of digital divide. Many of Polish doctors are rather advanced in years, and this is also why we have some resistance. So it is not very different between the other sectors and in medicine. So doctors would say, well, no machine will teach me how I am to treat my patients. So some more successful countries are more centralized in terms of digitalization, and that translates into a central lever. National Health Fund would need a partner who would clarify the doubts, who would explain how things work, and who would deal with legal obstacles. And of course, the personal data protection is something that we find it very difficult to cope with. And instead of trying to resolve a problem, people say, well, I'm not able to disclose the data because it's personal data and it's protected by law at the European level. So then we come to a point in time when a company of Tomek or Marek have a certain conflict of interest. The optimum solutions in data-based systems are platform-based that encompass all the possible entities in order to gather as much data as possible and in order to reduce the issues of interoperability. And then procurement. Procurement needs to be done in a manner that is based on knowledge and expertise. So Marek can visit individual hospitals and enlighten people as to what can be purchased by these hospitals. These hospitals usually buy the same thing, buy things on their own. We don't have central procurement system or implemented solutions apart from electronic prescription, e-prescription. However, there is also sometimes a conflict because people say, no, don't buy this solution. We are working on our solution. And then it takes years. So trying to establish a point where we would have the central architect that would decide on conditions of interoperability, security, that would actually be valid for everyone with very clear procedure for access, it creates an equal playing field. And then, of course, hospitals make their procurement decisions independently, and they can choose solutions. However, they will also be informed that certain solutions are recommended and have been evaluated. So that's what I wanted to say. Well, I think that Marek said that he doesn't see problems, but there are no problems at the level of 1 or 2 hospitals. So my question maybe should be different, and I will be speaking to Tomek Jaworski. Microsoft has a global perspective and experience of major projects. So what should be done in order to make sure that all patients that could suffer from one of these 26 lesions mentioned by Marek could be diagnosed using this solution? So what needs to be done in order for these solutions to be universally used? Tomasz. Well, the problem I'm faced with is as follows. I had to do a facepalm when I was listening to Marek Trojanowicz. I do apologize, but I disagree with you. I want to say hello to my MBA students in Łazarski University, Public Health course. And yes, there is certain level of autonomy in decisions made at the hospital level. And then there is biometric data. And I do not agree as a patient and I do not agree as a professional to be careless with data protection when it comes to patients. It's not that GPRS is a problem for us or ethics is a problem for us. Quite the contrary. We have to protect the regulations that are there to protect our data, because we do not want international companies, international corporations to profile us as patients. And if they know our problems, our health problems, they will be offering, but I think it's already too late. Microsoft is just as guilty of profiling. No, I disagree with you. It may be Facebook or others, but it's not us. There is a difference Yes, you will defend Microsoft, and you will keep doing so. No, 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 it is the European Union that is defending. And Google, well, your solution works on Google, and the European Union has some doubts. And as for Microsoft, we have clarified all the questions. Well, your lawyers did. Well, we do not really profit from that. And the good example of the use of artificial intelligence is POZ plus, so primary care plus, and there is no aggressive use of patient data. However, artificial intelligence is used to read the
pacjentów, jak to mówi pan doktor
cytology results. So in eastern part of the Mazovia region, such solutions are using, and there we work together with parish priests, with local community leaders, trying to encourage patients to take part in screening tests. For example, for the BRCA1 gene, which then would suggest for them to carry out other tests, such as mammographic tests, biopsy, different smears and these patients should be and are treated as subjects, as human beings. So we are not source of data. We are not being traded. We are people with all our fears and anxieties. So these patients are contacted by phone with the use of primary care plus system, and they are informed and they are told, well, your mammography results may be suspicious, but do not worry, because there are other tests that still need to be carried out that can clarify the situation. And this puts the patient's mind at rest to some extent. And Bartosz said that in Poland, when it comes to diagnosing cancer, we are in a very difficult situation. And this is a very good example. This is a very dynamic discussion. I know. I do apologize to Marek Trojanowicz. Well, it is good to have a dynamic discussion. Otherwise, everyone listening to us would be falling asleep by now. Well, let me just say that I'm very happy that there are initiatives that people find interesting or that seem attractive to hospitals or other healthcare providers. However, what we need is a proper structure for the ecosystem, and hence the role of the regulator. As regards the healthcare system in the field of oncology, I can say that patients have so many problems. We may speak about artificial intelligence, but waiting lists for magnetic resonance, for MR scans, are many months long. So I do not see any of those who generate these waiting lines saying, oh, I want to use artificial intelligence, that's great, I will not have to employ as many doctors. 2 months ago, Jan Kuhner announced that fast MRI has been announced by Facebook, which allows to shorten the MRI scans 10 times. So these solutions are there, they are on the table, but patients do not have access to those solutions. And we need to start asking ourselves why this is so. And these are not solutions that were introduced 6 months ago. Some of them have been available for quite a long time. And we need to understand the mechanisms that control the market of health services. Some of them are not too obvious. My background is more business sector, and I have this feeling that if something is more efficient, is cheaper, is faster, and it is beneficial to the patients, we should implement it as soon as possible. But this is not how things are being done, and we should ask ourselves why. We have to conclude. We have to conclude our discussion. I'm very happy that this discussion has been so dynamic. It is much more interesting than just statements being read out. Bartosz, you spoke about recommendations. Jan has mentioned that need of there being a central architect, and we need to be customer-centered. This is all very important. Thank you very much for all those who have been following us online. I would like to thank all our panelists, and back to the studio.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, it was a very heated discussion when I said, this is something we were looking forward to. This is exactly what I meant. But when we agree with each other, it's simply boring. So it was exciting this time. Artur? Well, someone said that there are no disputes and differences of opinion at the forum. Well, they were wrong, and we saw it because we saw a confrontation of different points of view and experiences. So thank you very much for this lively debate, and it moved us forward. We know better how to implement AI-based solutions, or something that we will discuss in a minute, wider availability of medical devices, which until recently were available for the few or at very specialist clinics, are now gaining foothold. It changes everything. It changes context, and we are going to focus on that during the upcoming panel.